My wife texted me at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. "I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call." I stared at those words on my phone screen for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. The blue light from the display illuminated my face in the darkened living room. Outside, rain tapped against the windows with a rhythm that had become background noise over the past hour. Seattle in September. Always raining. Not because the message hurt, not because I was shocked, but because of how carefully she'd chosen each word. The punctuation was perfect. The tone was final. Definitive. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment thing typed out in anger. She'd thought about this message, composed it, maybe even rehearsed it in her head before hitting send. That level of calculation told me everything I needed to know. I was sitting in our living room, my living room technically, since I'd paid the entire down payment from my savings, watching the Mariners lose to Houston, bottom of the 6th inning, down by 4 runs. The apartment smelled like the Thai takeout I'd picked up on the way home from the distribution center where I worked as a logistics supervisor, pad thai and green curry. Her portion sat untouched in the fridge, the containers still sealed, condensation forming on the clear plastic lids. The TV flickered with bright stadium lights and the roar of the crowd. Some commercial about beer and friendship. I muted it. I picked up my phone and typed back, my thumbs moving with deliberate precision. "Then I'm not your husband anymore. Don't come back." Send. I set the phone face down on the coffee table, a solid oak piece I'd built myself 2 years ago during a weekend when she'd been at some marketing conference, and returned to the game. The sound was still off. I watched the players move in silence, their gestures and expressions telling the story without commentary. Bottom of the 7th. Bases loaded. 2 outs. 10 minutes later, my phone started vibrating. Once. The buzz was loud against the wood. Twice? 3 times. I glanced at the screen. Her name. Claire Carver. I let it ring out, watching the display fade to black. 4, 5, 6. The Mariners struck out. Inning over. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and pulled a beer from the fridge, an IPA from a local brewery. I twisted off the cap and took a long drink. The bitterness felt appropriate. 7, 8, 9. By the 20th call, I'd finished my pad thai, cracked open a second beer, and settled back into the couch. The Mariners had lost. Final score, 7-2. I turned off the TV and sat in silence, listening to my phone buzz against the wood like an angry wasp trapped under glass. 20 missed calls in 18 minutes. I didn't smile. Didn't feel vindicated or satisfied or even remotely pleased. I felt nothing at all, and that's when I knew something fundamental had shifted inside me. Something that couldn't be shifted back. My name is Daniel Carver. I'm 34 years old. I've lived in Seattle for 12 years, ever since I graduated from Washington State with a degree in supply chain management. I manage logistics for a regional distribution company called Pacific Northwest Supply Solutions. We handle electronics, industrial parts, medical equipment, anything that needs to move from point A to point B efficiently and on schedule. It's boring work to most people, endless spreadsheets, delivery schedules, inventory audits, routing optimization. But I'm good at it because I understand systems, how things move, how they connect, how small inefficiencies compound into major failures if you don't catch them early, how a delayed shipment in Portland can cascade into a bottleneck in Vancouver if you don't adjust the timeline. Systems, patterns, consequences. My wife, Claire, is a marketing director for a boutique pharmaceutical consultancy called Vantage. They advise drug companies on launch strategies, market positioning, regulatory messaging. She's smart, ambitious, presentable. The kind of woman who photographs well at company events and knows how to work a room. She has this ability to make people feel seen and important, at least for the duration of a conversation. When we met 6 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue, I was impressed by her confidence, her certainty. She knew what she wanted and how to get it. At the time, I found that attractive, refreshing. I'd dated too many people who couldn't make decisions, who drifted through life waiting for things to happen to them. Claire made things happen. Turns out what she wanted was someone useful, someone stable, someone who'd handle the boring parts of life, paying bills on time, fixing broken appliances, remembering birthdays and anniversaries, while she focused on the interesting parts, her career, her social life, her image. I figured that out around year 3 of our marriage. By year 5, I'd accepted it, but tonight, reading that text, I realized I'd been accepting the wrong thing. I'd been accepting neglect when I should have been noticing disrespect. There's a difference. Neglect is passive. Someone forgetting to call because they're busy. Someone missing dinner because work ran late. That's thoughtlessness. Disrespect is a choice. It's deliberate. It's sending a message that says, I'm not your property, when you haven't been treating someone like property. It's telling someone not to call you when you've been married to them for 6 years. It's choosing those specific words to establish dominance. The call stopped around 10:15 p.m. At 10:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text. Daniel, please, we need to talk. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I read it twice. Then I opened my laptop and created a new Excel spreadsheet. Column A, date. Column B, time. Column C, event. Column D, location. Column E, notes. First entry, September 12th, 9:47 p.m. Text received, home. Tone, hostile, decisive, calculated. I worked backwards through my memory, filling in rows. Late nights at the office that weren't on her calendar. I'd noticed because I always checked our shared Google Calendar before making dinner plans. Weekend team-building events that weren't mentioned until the day of, leaving me with canceled plans and wasted grocery shopping. The way she'd started showering immediately after coming home, even when she claimed she'd just been sitting in meetings all day. How she'd replaced her practical cotton underwear with lace and silk over the past few months. How her phone was always face down on surfaces now, when it used to sit casually wherever she set it. Small things. Individually meaningless. A mosaic that only shows its picture when you step back far enough. Together, they painted a very specific picture. I saved the file as Project Claire and backed it up to 3 different drives, my laptop, an external hard drive, and a cloud storage account I'd set up years ago for work documents. Then I went to bed. Our bedroom was dark, the sheets were cold. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain, thinking about nothing and everything. Sleep came eventually, shallow and dreamless. She came home at 2:13 a.m. I heard her key in the lock, the slight scrape of metal on metal, heard her shoes on the hardwood floor of the entryway. She was trying to be quiet, moving carefully. She stood outside the bedroom door for a full minute before opening it. I could see her silhouette in the doorway, backlit by the dim hallway light we always left on. Daniel? I didn't move, kept my breathing steady, eyes closed. I'd learned this technique during a brief period of insomnia years ago, how to fake sleep convincingly. Slow breaths, occasional slight movement, total stillness otherwise. She whispered my name twice more, then left. I heard her in the bathroom, water running, the toilet flushing, then silence. She must have gone to the guest room. In the morning, she was gone before I woke up. There was a note on the kitchen counter, written on the back of a grocery receipt in her precise handwriting. I'm staying at Morgan's for a few days. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Morgan was her college roommate, divorced 3 years ago after her husband cheated, bitter about it. The kind of friend who encouraged bad decisions and called it empowerment. They'd get wine-buzzed and complain about men. I'd met Morgan exactly twice. Both times, she'd looked at me like I was somehow responsible for her ex-husband's failures. I photographed the note with my phone, logged it in the spreadsheet with timestamp and verbatim text, then threw it away. At work, I functioned normally. Maybe better than normal. I reviewed shipment delays for our Portland route and identified a pattern in late departures that was costing us an average of 47 minutes per delivery. Coordinated with 3 different trucking companies to optimize their schedules. Approved overtime requests for the warehouse team handling a backlog from the holiday season coming up. My assistant, Kevin, knocked on my office door around 2:01 p.m. Hey boss, you feeling okay? Kevin was 26, fresh out of college, earnest and hardworking. Good kid. Yeah, why? I don't know. You just seem different today. More focused or something. Just trying to clear the backlog before Q4 hits? Right. Makes sense. He hesitated. Also, Janet from accounting wanted to know if you've processed the vendor invoices from last week. Tell her they'll be done by end of day. Got it. He left. I returned to my spreadsheet. The work one, not the Claire one, and continued analyzing delivery patterns. That afternoon, after work, I drove to a FedEx store 3 towns over in Tacoma and opened a P.O. box under my middle name, Thomas. Daniel Thomas Carver. I'd never used my middle name for anything. That was the point. I paid for 6 months in cash and pocketed the key. Then I stopped at a credit union I'd never used before and opened a savings account with $500 cash. The teller was friendly, made small talk about the weather. I smiled and agreed that yes, the rain was really coming down today. Small steps, untraceable, building infrastructure. I wasn't planning anything specific yet. I was just creating options. That's what logistics is, fundamentally. Options, redundancy, Contingency plans? You don't wait until the truck breaks down to have a backup route planned. You don't wait until the warehouse floods to have inventory stored elsewhere. You prepare for scenarios before they become emergencies. Claire called me that evening. I was home, heating up leftovers. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Hey," she said. Her voice was soft, tentative. She was testing the waters. Hey." Silence. She'd expected resistance. The ease threw her off. I could almost hear her recalibrating. "Can we talk?" "Sure." More silence. She hadn't expected me to agree. I think we both said things we didn't mean last night." "Did we?" "Daniel, come on, don't be like this." "Like what?" "Cold. You're being cold." "I'm being clear. There's a difference." Another pause. I could hear traffic in the background. Not close, distant, highway noise. She wasn't at Morgan's apartment. Morgan lived in a quiet residential neighborhood in Ballard. This was somewhere else. Somewhere with fast-moving traffic. "You told me I'm not your property," I said. "I agreed. You said you'd be late. You were. You told me not to call. I didn't. Nothing unclear about any of that. You told me not to come back. I did. You didn't mean it. I did." Her breathing changed, faster, shallower. The sound of someone trying to maintain composure while panic sets in. "Daniel, please. I know I've been distant lately. I know I've been unfair to you. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through whatever this is. 6 years of marriage doesn't just end over one fight." "Who is he?" The line went silent. Complete silence. Even the traffic noise seemed to fade. "What? You heard me?" "Daniel, there's no—" "Don't." My voice didn't rise, didn't sharpen, just stopped her. "I'm not asking if there's someone. I'm asking who. There's a difference." She hung up. I set my phone down and finished heating my dinner. Leftover curry. Still good. I ate standing at the counter, looking out the kitchen window at the parking lot below. Rain sheeted across the pavement under the streetlights. I added the call to my spreadsheet. Time, 6:34 p.m. Duration, 2 minutes, 18 seconds. Location, unknown. Traffic noise suggests highway or major road, not residential area. Evasive when questioned directly. Ended call abruptly when confronted. That night, I sorted through our shared photo cloud. We had years of pictures stored there. Vacations, dinners, friends' weddings, normal couple things. Claire had been meticulous about deleting certain photos recently. I could see the gaps in the timeline, entire weekends missing. But she'd forgotten something crucial. Metadata doesn't delete unless you really know what you're doing. I found timestamps for deleted photos. Used recovery software to pull some of them back from the cloud's recycling system. Most were innocuous. Selfies, restaurant meals, nothing interesting. But the timestamps told a story. Photos deleted from specific weekends, gaps that corresponded with entries in my mental log of suspicious behavior. I cross-referenced them with her credit card statements. We had a joint account for household expenses. She'd been sloppy there, using it for restaurants I'd never been to. Nice places. Expensive places. One name appeared 3 times over the past 2 months. The Boathouse. Upscale seafood place on the waterfront downtown. The kind of place that requires reservations and has a sommelier. I called them the next morning before work. "Good morning, the Boathouse. This is Jennifer. How can I help you?" "Hi, Jennifer. I'm trying to track down a receipt for a business dinner. Reservation under Claire Carver, probably within the last month or so." "Let me check for you." Keyboard sounds. "Yes, I'm showing 3 reservations under that name. September 2nd, September 15th, and September 24th. "Perfect. Do you happen to remember who she was dining with? I'm trying to confirm the client name for our accounting department." "Oh, absolutely. Mr. Patterson, James Patterson. He's actually a regular here. Such a lovely couple." My hand tightened on the phone. "Right, James, of course. Thank you so much." "You're welcome. Have a great day." I hung up and sat very still for a moment. Patterson. James Patterson. I knew that name. I'd met him once at Claire's company holiday party 2 years ago. Senior Vice President at Vantage. Early 40s, expensive suit, firm handshake. The kind of guy who laughed too loud at his own stories and made sure everyone knew he golfed at a private club. Married. I remembered his wife, Diane. She'd seemed nice, normal. They had kids. I'd seen family photos on the table at the party, one of those rotating digital frames displaying their perfect life. I opened a new spreadsheet. James Edward Patterson. Age, 42. Married to Diane Patterson, née Foster. Children: 2, Emma, age 11, and Lucas, age 8. Residence: Bellevue, Washington. Employer: Vantage Pharmaceutical Consulting. Title: Senior VP, Client Relations. Estimated salary: $180,000 and $220,000, based on industry standards. Then I started searching. Public records are shockingly easy to access if you know where to look. Property records, voter registration, court filings, LinkedIn profiles, Facebook, Instagram. His wife's social media was public, lots of family photos, the kids at school events, soccer games, piano recitals, charity galas where Diane wore elegant dresses and smiled for the camera. The carefully curated life of someone who believed in appearances, someone who thought she had a stable marriage. I found his personal email through a leaked database from a data breach 3 years ago. Most people never change their email addresses. Found his car registration through King County records, a silver Lexus ES 350. Found his gym membership through a tagged photo on Instagram where some friend had checked in with him at a place called Summit Fitness in downtown Seattle. People leave digital trails everywhere, breadcrumbs. They just don't realize how easy those trails are to follow if someone's actually paying attention. By midnight, I had a comprehensive file on James Patterson, his routines, his habits, his assets, his vulnerabilities. By 1 a.m., I'd started a new file on Claire. Not the woman I'd married, the woman she'd become, the stranger who texted me at 9:47 p.m. and told me I didn't own her. I slept 4 hours and woke up feeling more clear-headed than I had in months. Claire came home on Friday afternoon. I was in the kitchen, meal prepping for the week ahead. Chicken breasts on the cutting board, rice cooking on the stove, vegetables waiting to be chopped. Friday was always my prep day. I'd cook enough food for 5 days of lunches and dinners, portion it into containers, and not have to think about meals until the following weekend. She walked in with a small overnight bag and an expression of cautious hope. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She set the bag down by the door. I thought maybe we could talk, really talk. No phones, no distractions. Okay. I kept chopping vegetables. Carrots into thin strips, celery into small pieces, onions diced fine. The rhythm was meditative. Knife against cutting board, over and over. "Daniel, can you look at me?" I set down the knife, washed my hands, and turned. She looked tired. Makeup couldn't quite hide the shadows under her eyes. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Usually she spent 20 minutes styling it. She was wearing jeans and a sweater I'd bought her 2 Christmases ago, an olive green cashmere blend. It looked good on her. "I'm looking," I said. "I don't want this to end." Her voice cracked slightly. Practiced or genuine? I couldn't tell anymore. "I don't want us to end. We've built a life together. 6 years. That has to mean something." "It does mean something. It means we spent 6 years together. That's a fact." "That's not what I mean." "Then what do you mean?" "I mean, I love you. I do. And I know I've been distant. I know I've been unfair and selfish and probably a lot of other things. But I want to fix this. I want us to go to counseling. I want us to work through this." "Why are you with James Patterson?" Her face went pale. Actually pale. The color drained like someone had pulled a plug. "How? Does it matter?" She sank into a chair at the kitchen table. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands, fingers interlaced, knuckles white. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. "It's not what you think." "Tell me what it is then." "It's complicated." "Uncomplicate it." She looked up. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying yet. "He understands me. He sees me in a way you don't. You and I, Daniel, we've been roommates for years now. You know it. I know it. We're just going through the motions, the routine. We eat dinner, we watch TV, we sleep in the same bed, but we're not really together. We haven't been for a long time." "So you went looking somewhere else?" "I didn't plan it. It just happened. We were working on a project together, long hours, late nights. We started talking about real things, life things, and he listened, really listened, not just nodding while watching baseball." The dig landed exactly where she intended it, but I felt nothing. "How long?" She hesitated. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. 180-something days of lies. Of coming home to me while sneaking away to him. Of sitting across from me at dinner while texting him under the table. Of kissing me goodnight while thinking about him. "Are you in love with him?" I asked. "I don't know." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Maybe. I don't know what I feel anymore." "Does his wife know?" Her head snapped up. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't do that. Don't weaponize this. Don't drag other people into it." Other people are already in it. Diane Patterson, their kids, me, we're all already in it. You just don't want to acknowledge that because it makes you feel bad. This isn't about her. It absolutely is about her, and their children, and me. It's about everyone you both decided didn't matter while you were having your affair. She stood up. I came here to fix things, to be honest, to try to make this work, and I'm what? Not making it easy for you? Not letting you feel better about yourself? Not accepting your apology so you can move on without guilt? You're being cruel. I'm being honest. You chose this. You chose James Patterson. You chose 6 months of lying to my face every single day. Don't come in here now and act like I'm the problem because I'm not making your confession comfortable. She grabbed her bag. I can't do this with you right now. Then don't. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. You've changed, she said. So have you. She left. I returned to chopping vegetables. The rice had finished cooking. I portioned everything into containers, labeled them with dates, and stacked them in the fridge. Order, system, routine. 3 hours later, Kevin texted me. He'd been at a warehouse conference in Portland and was driving back north on I-5. Hey man, just saw Claire at a coffee shop off exit 127. She was with some guy, looked pretty intense. Everything okay? I stared at the message for a full minute. Kevin didn't know about any of this. He was texting because he was concerned, because he was a decent guy who'd noticed something that seemed off. Yeah, I typed back. Thanks for the heads up. We're going through some stuff. Sorry to hear that, man. Let me know if you need anything. Beer's on me next time. Appreciate it. Then I asked, can you describe the guy? Older than you, maybe early 40s. Business casual. They were sitting pretty close. Want me to send a pic? I took one through the window because I wasn't sure if it was her at first. Yeah, send it. The photo came through 20 seconds later. Blurry. Taken from outside through reflective glass, but clear enough. James Patterson. 3 hours after leaving our apartment, after telling me she wanted to fix our marriage, she was with him. I saved the photo, created a new folder on my laptop called Evidence, added it there, updated my spreadsheet. Then I texted Claire. I know you're with him right now. Kevin saw you at the coffee shop off exit 127. No response. I waited 5 minutes, then sent another. I'm filing for separation on Monday. Move out by Sunday or I'll have your things put in storage. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Daniel, please. Let's talk about this. Don't do this. We did talk. You left. Then you went to him. I needed someone to talk to. You had someone to talk to. Me. You chose someone else. Please don't do this. Sunday, end of day. After that, anything left here goes to Goodwill. I turned off my phone. She showed up anyway at 11:17 p.m. I'd changed the locks that afternoon, called a locksmith, paid cash, had new deadbolts installed on both doors. She pounded on the door for 10 minutes before realizing I wasn't going to open it. This is my apartment too, she yelled through the door. Her voice was hoarse. You can't just lock me out. This is illegal. Your name's not on the lease, I called back. Mine is. Legally, you're a guest, and I'm asking you to leave. I have rights. So do I. And my right to decide who stays in my apartment supersedes your right to enter it. If you don't believe me, call the authorities. They'll tell you the same thing. More pounding, then crying. Loud, theatrical crying. I sat on the couch and waited. She left around midnight. Saturday, I slept in until 8, made coffee, scrambled eggs, toast, a normal breakfast. Then I started packing Claire's belongings. I was methodical about it. Started with her closet. Every piece of clothing folded or hung carefully in boxes. Her shoes paired and wrapped in paper, jewelry in a small case, toiletries from the bathroom, shampoo, conditioner, makeup, all of it, into a separate box. Books from her side of the bookshelf, photos from the walls, only ones that featured her prominently. I left the pictures of my family and our joint friends. Everything that was hers went into boxes. I labeled them clearly with a marker. Claire, clothes. Claire, bathroom. Claire, personal items. By 5 p.m., I had 12 boxes stacked by the door. Sunday morning, she arrived at exactly noon with Morgan. I let them in without a word. Morgan looked around at the boxes, then at me with open hostility. You're really doing this, she said, not a question. Yes. You're throwing away 6 years over one mistake? I looked at her. It wasn't one mistake. It was hundreds of mistakes compounded over 6 months. And I'm not throwing anything away. She already did that. You're being petty. I'm being clear about boundaries. There's a difference. Claire said nothing. Just started loading boxes into Morgan's car. It took 3 trips. Morgan kept glaring at me each time she walked past. I ignored her. When the last box was loaded, Claire stood in the doorway. She looked smaller somehow. Diminished. "Can I at least get my mail forwarded here for a while?" she asked. "No, file a change of address." "Daniel." "What?" "I'm sorry, I really am. I know I hurt you, I know I messed this up, but you don't have to be this cold about it." "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because if I let myself feel anything right now, it won't be what you want me to feel." "What does that mean?" "It means you're hoping I'll be sad, or angry, or broken, something you can work with, something you can manage, but I'm not any of those things. I'm just done." She stared at me for a long moment. "Do you hate me?" she whispered. "No." "Then why are you doing this?" "Because I respect myself more than I love you." She flinched like I'd struck her across the face. Then she turned and walked to Morgan's car. I closed the door and locked it. The apartment felt different. Lighter, like a weight I hadn't noticed had been lifted. I made dinner, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, rice. I ate at the table, alone, listening to a podcast about supply chain innovations in the automotive industry. After dinner, I opened my laptop and updated the spreadsheet. Event, full separation. Date, September 17th. Status, complete. Next phase, begin. Then I started a new document, Project Patterson. The next 2 weeks were quiet in a way that felt almost surreal. Claire tried calling twice. I didn't answer. She sent texts asking about logistics, insurance, bills, shared accounts. I responded with facts only. No emotion, no commentary, just information. Insurance. You're still covered under my plan until end of month. After that, you'll need your own. Bills. All utilities are in my name. I've removed your access to the accounts. Joint account. I've withdrawn my half and closed it. Your half is in a check being mailed to Morgan's address. She tried to engage emotionally. I never wanted it to be like this. I didn't respond to those. At work, I functioned perfectly. Maybe better than perfect. I caught a major inventory discrepancy that would have cost the company $40,000 in missing equipment. My boss, Robert, praised me in a Monday morning meeting. Daniel caught a systematic error in our Portland routing that's been hemorrhaging efficiency for 3 months. Saved us a significant amount of money and headache. This is the kind of attention to detail that keeps us competitive. Scattered applause. Kevin gave me a thumbs up. After the meeting, Robert pulled me aside. "You doing okay? You seem different lately." "Different how?" "Sharper, more focused. I'm not complaining. Your work's been exceptional. Just making sure everything's all right personally." "Going through a separation. It's clarifying." "Sorry to hear that. If you need time off..." "I don't. Work helps." He nodded. "Well, keep up the good work. We're going into budget season, and I'm thinking about restructuring some roles. Your name's come up for advancement." "Appreciate that." That night, Kevin asked if I'd been sleeping enough. I told him I was sleeping fine. 4 hours a night, that was enough. The rest of the time I was working, not on my job, on my research. James Patterson maintained a routine. People are creatures of habit, especially successful people. They find patterns that work and stick to them. Gym at 6 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Summit Fitness on 4th Avenue. Same parking spot in the adjacent garage, 3rd level, north side, near the elevator. He drove his silver Lexus. Vanity plate JPAT1. After the gym, coffee at a place called Daily Dose. 7:30 a.m. every morning. Large Americano, no room for cream. Work by 8:15 a.m. His office was in a glass tower downtown. Corner office, 18th floor. I could see it from the street. Lunch at his desk unless he had a client meeting. I knew this because I'd monitored the building's visitor log. Not through hacking, just by sitting in the lobby cafe and watching the sign-in sheet over a few lunch hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays, he left work early. 4:30 p.m. sharp. Those were Claire nights. I knew this because I'd started following him. Not every day, not obviously. Just enough to map his patterns and confirm my suspicions. On Tuesday, September 19th, I sat in my car 3 spaces down from his at the gym. Watched him walk in at 5:58 a.m. He wore expensive workout clothes, some technical brand with logos. Wireless earbuds in, confident stride. He never looked around. Never noticed me sitting there with my coffee and newspaper. On Wednesday, I went to his coffee shop. Stood in line 4 people behind him. He ordered his Americano, checked his phone while waiting, smiled at something on the screen, that small, private smile people get when texting someone they're attracted to, then left without noticing me at all. I was invisible, and that was exactly what I wanted. On Thursday, I followed his car from work. He drove to a parking garage downtown, covered parking, discreet. I watched from across the street as Claire's car pulled in 15 minutes later. They took his Lexus and drove south on I-5. I followed at a distance. 5 cars back. 6 cars. Never closer than that. They took the exit toward Federal Way and pulled into a Hampton Inn. I parked across the street at a gas station and waited. They stayed for 2 hours and 17 minutes. When they left, I photographed their cars in the parking lot. Photographed them walking to their vehicles separately. Photographed the hotel sign with the date and time visible on my phone. I drove home and uploaded everything to my evidence folder. On Friday, I went to his gym again. This time, I went inside. Paid for a day pass. Wore generic workout clothes. Plain gray shirt, black shorts, nothing distinctive. Kept my head down. I ran on a treadmill 2 rows behind his. He was listening to a podcast about leadership and business strategy. I could tell because he had his phone propped up on the machine and I could see the screen from my angle. After his workout, he went to the locker room. I went too. We stood at adjacent sinks, washing our hands. He glanced at me in the mirror. Brief eye contact. No recognition. Just a polite nod. The kind strangers give each other in shared spaces. I nodded back. Then I left. These weren't confrontations. They were reconnaissance. I was learning his space. His comfort zones. His blind spots. The thing about people like James Patterson is they live in a bubble of their own importance. They don't expect to be noticed by people they consider beneath them. To him, I was nobody. A random guy at the gym, a stranger at a coffee shop, an invisible man at a sink. They don't notice the quiet guy until it's too late. September turned into October. The rain came harder. The city got darker earlier. I maintained my routine, work, running, research. On October 3rd, Claire texted me. "Can we meet? I need to get some things from the apartment." "What things?" "Some of my winter clothes, and a few books I forgot." She'd taken everything. I'd been thorough. This was a pretext for something else. An excuse to see me. "Fine. Saturday at noon. I'll leave the boxes outside the door." "I'd rather come in. We should talk." "No." "Daniel, please, can't we at least be civil?" "We are being civil. Civil means polite and distant. That's what I'm being." "I mean, can't we talk like adults? Sort this out properly?" "There's nothing to sort out. You made your choice. I made mine." "It doesn't have to be this way." "Yes, it does." She didn't respond for an hour. Then, "Fine, Saturday at noon." Saturday morning, I packed the items she'd mentioned. Winter coat, a few sweaters, some books from the shelf. Mostly romance novels and self-help books about finding purpose. I also added things she hadn't mentioned, photos of us from early in our relationship, our first vacation to Portland, a concert we'd gone to, her birthday dinner from year 2, a necklace I'd given her for our 3rd anniversary, a small silver pendant with her birthstone, and a handwritten note I'd found while cleaning out the nightstand drawer in the guest room where she'd slept those few nights before moving out completely. The note was from Patterson, just a few lines in blue ink on expensive stationery. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you, about us. You're amazing. Jay." I put it on top of the pile in the box. Then I sealed the box with packing tape and carried it downstairs to the building's entrance. She arrived at 12:15 p.m. I watched from my living room window as she got out of her car. She looked good, hair styled, makeup done. She was wearing a dress I didn't recognize. New, she'd been shopping. She opened the box right there on the sidewalk. I watched her face as she sorted through the items. Watched her expression change when she found the photos. Saw her pick up the necklace, turn it over in her hands. Then she found the note. Her whole body went rigid. She looked up at my window. I stepped back, out of sight. She stood there for a full minute. Then she put everything back in the box, loaded it into her car, and drove away. 2 hours later, she called. I didn't answer. She texted. "That was cruel," I replied. "That was yours. You're not the person I thought you were. Neither are you. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did anyway, and that's what matters. Intent is irrelevant when the damage is done." She didn't respond. That evening, I went for a run. 5 miles through the city. The rain had stopped temporarily, and the streets reflected the neon lights from bars and restaurants. People were out, couples, groups of friends, normal people living normal lives. I felt like a ghost moving through them. When I got home, I felt clearer, calmer. Anger requires heat. and I'd gone cold. Somewhere over the past few weeks, I'd stopped being the man who loved Claire. I'd become someone else. Someone who saw the world as a series of systems and leverage points. Someone who understood that revenge wasn't about rage or violence or dramatic confrontations. It was about patience, about precision, about understanding exactly which pieces to move and in what order. On October 5th, I engineered the first real test. I knew Patterson went to a bar on Friday nights, a place called The District, upscale, exposed brick walls, craft cocktails, loud music, dim lighting. He went there with colleagues from Vantage. I'd seen the tagged photos on social media, group shots, drinks raised to the camera, forced corporate camaraderie. That Friday, I went there too. I arrived at 8 p.m. and took a seat at the bar. Ordered a whiskey on the rocks, watched the baseball game on the TV mounted above the liquor bottles. Patterson's group arrived at 8:45, 6 people total, 3 men, 3 women, all dressed in business casual. They took a table near the back. I could see them in the mirror behind the bar, could hear them when the music dipped between songs. Patterson was loud, not drunk yet, but working on it, telling a story about some client meeting. Everyone laughed at the punchline. He soaked in the attention. I turned on my bar stool slightly so I had a better angle, sipped my whiskey, watched the game. Around 10 p.m., he went outside to take a call. I could see him through the window, pacing on the sidewalk, phone to his ear. I finished my drink, paid my tab, and walked out. He was 20 feet away, still on the call. I walked past him to my car. "No, I'll be home soon," he was saying. "Just drinks with the team? Yeah, love you too." Diane. He hung up, immediately pulled out his phone again, started texting. The smile came back. That private, intimate smile. Claire. I got in my car and sat there for a moment, watching him in my rearview mirror. He had no idea I existed, no idea I was watching, no idea what was coming. I drove home. The next week, I went to his gym during his regular time. Wednesday, 6 a.m. I wore different clothes this time, kept a baseball cap on, ran on the treadmill. After his workout, he went to the locker room. I followed after a 2-minute delay. He was at his locker, checking his phone, half-dressed. I went to a locker 2 rows over, opened it, pretended to dig through a gym bag. "Excuse me," he said. "You got the time?" I looked up, made brief eye contact. 6:47. "Thanks." He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I was nobody to him. I left. These encounters served a purpose. I was desensitizing him to my presence, making myself part of his environment. When the time came for actual confrontation, I wouldn't be a complete stranger. I'd be someone vaguely familiar, someone his brain would register as non-threatening. Predators study their prey. They learn patterns. They wait for the right moment. I was learning to be patient. On October 12th, everything shifted. I received an email at work from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "Thought you should know." I almost deleted it as spam, but something made me open it. "Daniel, I don't know if you remember me. We met at Claire's holiday party a couple years ago. My name is Lisa Chen. I work at Vantage with Claire and James. I heard about your separation, and I'm sorry. I'm reaching out because I think you should know that their relationship is more serious than you might think. They're talking about him leaving his wife. I thought you deserved to know. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Lisa." I read it 3 times. Lisa Chen. I vaguely remembered her. Short, glasses. Worked in finance or accounting or something. I typed back. "Thank you for reaching out. Can we talk?" She responded within minutes. "Yes. Coffee tomorrow? There's a place near my apartment. I'll send the address." We met at a small cafe in Capitol Hill. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a latte. "Daniel, thanks for meeting me. Thanks for reaching out." We sat in awkward silence for a moment. "I debated whether to contact you," she said. "It's not really my business, but I know what it's like to be the last to know. My ex cheated on me for a year before I found out. Everyone at work knew except me. It's humiliating." "I appreciate you telling me." "They're not subtle about it. They think they're being discreet, but everyone knows. The late meetings that aren't on the calendar, the way they look at each other. It's obvious." "How serious is it?" She hesitated. "Last week I overheard James on the phone in the break room. He was talking to someone, I assume his lawyer, about preliminary divorce filings. He mentioned custody arrangements for his kids." My hands tightened around my coffee cup. "He's actually leaving his wife?" That's what it sounded like. And Claire? Look, I don't know her that well, but she seems excited about it, like she thinks they're going to ride off into the sunset together. Does his wife know? I don't think so. Not yet, anyway. I processed this. Why are you telling me this? Because someone should, and because... She looked down at her cup. Because James Patterson is not a good guy. I know that sounds petty, but it's true. He's manipulative. He uses people. 3 years ago, he had an affair with another colleague. It ended badly. She left the company. He faced 0 consequences because his numbers were good. He's done this before? At least once that I know of. Maybe more. He's good at compartmentalizing, good at making women feel special. And then when things get complicated, he moves on. Does Claire know this? Lisa shrugged. I doubt it. And even if she did, she probably thinks she's different. That's what we all think, right? That we're the exception. We talked for another 30 minutes. She gave me details, timelines, names, everything she knew about James Patterson's history at Vantage. When we finished, I thanked her again. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know yet, but thank you for this. Be careful. James has friends in high places. He's untouchable at the company. Everyone's touchable if you know where to apply pressure. She looked at me curiously. You're different than I expected. How so? Claire always talked about you like you were this nice, stable guy. Safe. Boring, even. But you're not, are you? I used to be. I left the cafe and sat in my car for a long time. James Patterson was planning to leave his wife. For Claire. Claire thought she was getting a fairy tale ending. Neither of them had any idea what was actually coming. I drove to a library and used their public computer to create a new email account. Then I drafted a message. To Diane Patterson. From a concerned friend subject. Information you deserve to have. Mrs. Patterson, I'm writing to inform you that your husband James has been having an affair with a colleague named Claire Carver for approximately 6 months. I believe you deserve to know. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. They've been meeting at hotels and discussing James leaving you. I think you should protect yourself and your children. I read it 10 times, changed wording, made it less dramatic, more factual. Then I deleted it. Not yet. Not like this. I needed to think this through carefully. One wrong move, and I'd lose the advantage. I drove home and opened my spreadsheet. Project Patterson. Phase 2. October deepened into November. The rain became relentless. The kind of Seattle rain that doesn't pour but persists. A constant gray drizzle that soaks everything slowly. I started running every morning, 5 miles before work, sometimes 6. The routine helped, kept my mind sharp and my body tired enough to sleep those 4 hours. At the distribution center, I took on additional projects. Robert had mentioned restructuring, and I wanted to be invaluable when budget decisions came down. I optimized routing schedules for 3 different regions, negotiated better rates with 2 major suppliers, identified redundancies in our inventory system that were costing $12,000 annually. My boss called me into his office on October 18th. Daniel, I'm moving forward with that restructuring I mentioned. Okay. I'm creating a new position, Director of Operations. It would oversee logistics, warehousing, and supplier relations. Salary bump, better benefits. I want you for it. I'm interested. Good. It's yours. We'll make it official after the board meeting next month. I appreciate the opportunity. You've earned it. Your work lately has been exceptional. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I thanked him and returned to my office. Kevin knocked on the door 10 minutes later. Congrats on the promotion, boss. News travels fast. Robert's assistant told Janet in accounting. Janet told everyone else? He grinned. You deserve it, man. You've been on fire lately. Thanks, Kevin. Also, I wanted to ask. That thing with Claire, you doing okay? Yeah. You sure? Because if you need to talk or anything. I'm good. Really. Staying busy helps. He nodded. Cool. Well, offer stands. Beer's still on me whenever you want. After he left, I updated my personal spreadsheet. New income projection, new budget. I was going to be making nearly $30,000 more annually, but my real work still happened after hours. I'd located Patterson's home address weeks ago, but I'd only driven past once. Now I needed more detailed information. His house was in a gated community called Fairhaven Estates. 4-bedroom colonial, big yard, 2-car garage, the kind of neighborhood with an HOA and strict rules about lawn maintenance. The gate had a code, but it also had a visitor call box. I called from a burner phone, pretending to be a delivery driver with the wrong address. The guard gave me directions to a nearby street without questioning it. I drove through the community on a Sunday afternoon, noted the layout, security camera positions, patrol schedule, a single guard in a white SUV who drove through every 40 minutes. Patterson's house was on a cul-de-sac. His wife's car, a white Honda Odyssey minivan, was in the driveway. I could see children's toys in the yard, a basketball hoop, a trampoline, normal suburban family. I drove past without slowing and didn't return. His wife left for work at 7:15 a.m. The kids' school bus came at 7:45. Patterson left at 8 Hushich. On Tuesday and Thursday evenings, he didn't come home until after 9 p.m. Claire nights. I confirmed this by watching from a parking lot half a mile away with a clear view of the community entrance. On Tuesday, October 24th, I watched his silver Lexus leave at 4:35 p.m. Watched him return at 9:47 p.m. Pattern established, confirmed, logged. On October 28th, I made contact. Not with him, with his world. I went to the district again, Wednesday night this time. His colleagues were there, but he wasn't. I recognized 3 of them from previous observations. I sat at the bar, ordered a whiskey, and listened. They talked about work, about clients, about office politics. One of them, a guy in his 30s wearing an expensive watch, mentioned Patterson. James is closing the Mercer Pharmaceuticals deal this week. If he pulls it off, he's looking at a VP bonus that'll make us all sick. Another laughed. He's got the golden touch lately. Everything he touches turns into commission. Must be nice having friends in high places. The CFO loves him. Must be nice having time for all this. I don't know how he balances everything. 2 kids, the wife, all the client dinners, the travel. He doesn't balance it. He just makes it look like he does. That's the secret. Appearance matters more than reality. They laughed. Ordered another round. I finished my drink and left. The following Tuesday, I made my first real move. Patterson's routine was completely predictable now. After work, he'd drive to that parking garage downtown. Claire would meet him there. They'd take his car to a hotel. I'd confirmed it 5 times. Different hotels each time. Hampton Inn, Courtyard Marriott, Holiday Inn Express, but always outside the city. Always discreet locations where they wouldn't run into anyone they knew. That night, I followed them, same as before, 5 cars back. 6 cars, never closer. They took the exit toward Auburn and pulled into a Residence Inn. I parked across the street at a Safeway and waited. They stayed for 1 hour and 53 minutes. When they left, I was ready. I didn't confront them, didn't make a scene, didn't approach Claire at all. I just followed Patterson's car back to the downtown parking garage and waited until Claire drove away in her vehicle. Then I walked to his car. He was sitting in the driver's seat checking his phone. Windows up, door locked, engine off. I knocked on the glass. Not aggressive, just firm enough to get his attention. He looked up, startled. Confusion crossed his face. He rolled down the window halfway, cautious. Yeah? Can I help you? James Patterson? Who's asking? Daniel Carver, Claire's husband. I watched his face change. Confusion became recognition. Recognition became fear. His hand moved toward the window control, probably thinking about rolling it back up. Look, man, I don't want any trouble. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then what do you want? I want you to understand something. I leaned closer to the window, not threatening, just close enough that he couldn't ignore me, close enough that my presence filled his personal space. You think this is consequence-free? You think you can have your affair and your wife and your career and nothing bad will happen? You're wrong. I don't know what you're... Yes, you do. And so does Claire. And soon, so will everyone else. But here's what you don't know yet. I'm not angry. I'm not going to yell or make a scene or do anything stupid that would give you ammunition. I'm just going to make absolutely sure you understand that actions have weight, that everything you do creates ripples, and those ripples are coming back. He stared at me. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Are you threatening me? No, I'm informing you. There's a difference. A threat implies future action contingent on your behavior. I'm just telling you what's already in motion. I could call. You could, but you won't, because then you'd have to explain why we're meeting in a parking garage at 10 p.m., and that explanation leads to questions. Questions lead to Diane, and Diane leads to lawyers and custody battles and the end of the life you're pretending to have. His hands tightened even more on the wheel. I could see the tension in his jaw. Stay away from me, he said. His voice was trying for authority but came out strained. I'm not the one you need to worry about staying away from. I stepped back from the car. He rolled up the window quickly and started the engine. I drove off faster than necessary. His taillights disappeared down the ramp. I stood there in the concrete garage for a moment. The sound of his engine echoed and faded. Then I walked to my car and went home. The next day, Claire called me. I was at work, reviewing a shipping manifest. I let it ring twice before answering. What did you do? Good morning to you too. Don't play games. What did you do last night? I had dinner, went for a run, watched a documentary about supply chains in China. Why? You know why. James said you confronted him. I didn't confront him. I introduced myself. We had a brief conversation. Daniel, you can't what? Talk to people? Last I checked, having a conversation in a public parking garage isn't illegal. You're trying to scare him. I don't need to try. He's already scared. People who do things they're ashamed of usually are. It's guilt manifesting as paranoia. This is insane. You're acting insane. I'm acting clear. There's a difference. Insanity would be irrational behavior. My behavior is perfectly rational given the circumstances. What circumstances? You cheated on me for 6 months. He helped you do it while lying to his own wife and children. Those are the circumstances. And now you're both discovering that dishonesty has consequences. You need to stop this. Stop what? I haven't done anything except have a conversation. You need to leave us alone. I'm not following you around. I'm not contacting you repeatedly. I'm living my life. If that life occasionally intersects with yours or James's, that's just unfortunate geography. She was breathing hard on the other end. This isn't over. You're right. It's not. She hung up. 2 days later, I received a cease and desist letter. It arrived at my work address, which meant Patterson had looked up where I worked. The letter was from a law firm downtown. Expensive letterhead. Generic language about harassment and potential legal action if I continued to contact or approach James Patterson. I read it carefully, twice. Then I scanned it and saved it to my evidence folder. Filed the original in a drawer. They thought legal threats would stop me. They didn't understand that I wasn't breaking any laws. Single conversation in a public place. No threats, no physical contact. No repeated behavior that would constitute harassment. They'd wasted money on a lawyer trying to intimidate me. I smiled for the first time in weeks. On November 4th, I sent an email. Not to Patterson, not to Diane. To Vantage Pharmaceutical Consulting's HR department. I crafted it carefully, professional tone, factual language, no emotion. Subject: concern regarding employee conduct and potential code of conduct violation. Body: to whom it may concern. I am writing to bring to your attention a situation that may constitute a violation of your company's code of conduct and ethics policies. I have credible information that Senior Vice President James Patterson has been engaged in a romantic relationship with a subordinate employee, Claire Carver, for approximately 6 to 8 months. Ms. Carver reports to Mr. Patterson's division, and this relationship may constitute a conflict of interest, potentially violating your policies regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships. Additionally, this relationship may expose the company to liability regarding favoritism, hostile work environment claims, or other employment law issues. I recommend a discreet internal investigation to verify these concerns. I am providing this information anonymously but in good faith as someone concerned about corporate ethics and employee welfare. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I sent it from a burner email account created through a VPN, routed through 3 different servers, untraceable, then I waited. 3 days later, Patterson called into work. I knew because Lisa Chen emailed me. James called in sick today, rumors flying around the office. HR has been in meetings all morning. Thought you should know, I replied. Thanks for the update. That afternoon, Claire texted me in a panic. What did you do? James is being investigated at work. They're asking him about our relationship. This is because of you. I know it is. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. I haven't contacted anyone at his company. I don't even know who to contact. Then how? Maybe someone noticed. Maybe someone cared about ethics. Companies have whistleblower policies for a reason. Maybe you two weren't as careful as you thought you were. You're destroying his life. No, he did that himself when he chose to have an affair with a subordinate in violation of company policy. I'm just making sure the right people notice. This is revenge. This is consequences. There's a difference. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but not today. She didn't respond. That evening, I went for a run. 8 miles, longer than usual. Pushed myself until my legs shook and my lungs burned. By the time I got home, my mind was quiet, clear. When I checked my phone, there was a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it. Mr. Carver, this is Diane Patterson. I think we need to talk. Please call me back at this number. It's important. I saved the voicemail. Then I poured a glass of water and stood at my kitchen window, looking out at the city lights. Everything was moving exactly as it should, pieces falling into place, systems producing their inevitable results. I called her back the next morning. Diane Patterson answered on the first ring. "Thank you for calling back." Her voice was steady but strained. "Of course. Can we meet? In person?" We agreed on a coffee shop in Kirkland, neutral territory. I suggested Bayshore Coffee. "Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? That works." I arrived early and took a table near the back. She walked in at exactly 2 p.m. Smaller than in photos. Tired, jeans and a gray jacket, hair in a ponytail. "Daniel," I stood. "Diane, thanks for meeting." We sat. She ordered tea. Finally, she looked at me directly. "I need to know what you know." "About?" "About my husband and your wife. How much do you want to know?" "Everything." So I told her, the timeline, the hotels, Tuesday and Thursday late nights, the text messages, credit card charges, 6 to 8 months of meetings. She listened without interrupting. Her hands shook around her cup. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. I suspected, for weeks, but I kept telling myself I was imagining things. "You weren't imagining it." "No." She looked down. "I found a hotel receipt in his car last week. When I asked, he said it was a work thing. Did you believe him?" I wanted to. "Did you send that email to his company?" she asked. "Yes." "Why?" "Because their relationship violated company policy. I thought the right people should know." "Was it revenge?" "It was accountability. There's a difference." She nodded. "They're doing an internal review. James has been put on administrative leave. He said someone made a false accusation." "How are you holding up?" "I don't know yet. We have 2 kids. Emma is 11, Lucas is 8. They have no idea what's happening." "What do you want to do?" "I want to protect my kids. That's the only thing I'm sure about." "That's reasonable." "Is it? I've spent 12 years building a life with someone who apparently didn't value it." She was quiet. Then she said, "Did you love Claire?" "Yes." "Do you still?" "No." "When did that change?" "When I realized she'd never seen me as a person, just as a role, something useful." Diane nodded like she understood. "I called you because I needed to know if what I suspected was real. Now I do." "Have you talked to a lawyer?" "I have a consultation scheduled for Friday." "What are you going to do? About Claire?" "Nothing. We're separated. I'm done with that part of my life." "And James?" "I'm done when the consequences finish playing out." She looked at me carefully. "You're not what I expected. James said you made threats." "I didn't threaten him. I just made sure he understood that actions have consequences." "You're very precise with language." "I work in logistics. Precision matters." We talked for another 20 minutes. When we finished, she stood. "Thank you for being honest with me." "Of course. For what it's worth, I think Claire made a terrible mistake. You seem like a good person." "I'm really not." She smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But you're honest. That counts for something." She left. I updated my spreadsheet. November 7th. Meeting with Diane Patterson. Result? Information confirmed. Investigation ongoing at Vantage. That evening, Claire called. "Diane called me today," she said. "Okay." She knows everything. About us. About James. She reached out to me. I told her the truth. "Why would you do that?" "Because she asked, and because she deserved to know." "She's filing for separation. James is going to lose everything. He made that choice when he started lying to her. You're destroying his life." I told the truth. If the truth destroys his life, that's because his life was built on lies. "What about my life? Have you thought about what you did to me? What you and James did to Diane? To their kids?" Silence. "I never wanted it to be like this." "Then you shouldn't have made it like this." "Are you going to hurt him?" "No." "Then what are you going to do?" "Nothing. The consequences are already in motion." She hung up. On November 10th, Lisa Chen emailed me. Investigation concluded. James has been asked to resign. Claire is being reassigned to a different department. Word is that James's wife is moving forward with separation. He's been a mess. I closed the email. Claire texted, "James had to resign because of you." I didn't respond. "You win, okay? Are you happy now?" I typed back. This was never about winning. Then what was it about? Understanding. That choices matter, that you don't get to hurt people and walk away clean. On November 15th, I went to the district. Patterson's former colleagues were there. "Did you hear James took a job in San Diego?" one said. "Yeah, huge pay cut. His wife kept the house. I heard Claire tried to get him to stay. And he told her it was over, that she was too much drama." They laughed. I finished my drink and left. On my way home, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Carver, this is James Patterson." I pulled over. "What do you want?" "I want to talk, face to face." "Why?" "Because I think we need to clear the air." "I have closure. You're the one calling me." "Please, just 30 minutes. "Where?" "Green Lake Park, north parking lot. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. "Fine." He hung up. I drove home and went to bed. I arrived at Green Lake Park at 5:45 p.m. The sun had set. The park was mostly empty. I parked where I could see the entrance and waited. Patterson's car pulled in at 6:07 p.m. A Honda Accord. He must have sold the Lexus. He got out looking different, thinner, rumpled clothes, unshaven. He walked over and knocked on my window. I rolled it down halfway. "Get out," he said. "No." "I'm not going to do anything. I just want to talk." "Then talk." He stepped back, hands in his pockets. "You destroyed my life." "No, you did that. I lost my job, my wife. My kids barely look at me. I had to move to California, and it's all because of you." "It's all because of your choices. I didn't make you have an affair. I didn't make you violate company policy." "You could have walked away, divorced Claire and moved on." "I did walk away. You and Claire didn't. So this is revenge? This is accountability. You wanted to have an affair without consequences. Life doesn't work that way. You systematically dismantled everything I had. You stalked me. You harassed me. I had one conversation with you. After that, I told the truth to people who had a right to know it. That's not harassment." His fists clenched, white knuckles. For a moment, I thought he might swing, but he didn't. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "An apology?" "I don't want anything from you." "Then why?" "Because you didn't think there would be consequences. You thought you could take what you wanted and walk away clean. I'm making sure you understand that's not how reality works." "You're not a good person." "I never claimed to be." "You're going to regret this." "Maybe, but not today." He stood there for another moment, then turned and walked to his car. Drove away without looking back. I sat for 10 more minutes, then went home. The next morning, Claire showed up at my apartment. Saturday. I was reading, drinking coffee. I checked the peephole. She looked exhausted. Unwashed hair, no makeup, sweatshirt and jeans. I opened the door. "What do you want?" "Can I come in?" "No. Please, Daniel, just for a minute." I stepped aside. She walked in slowly. "You redecorated." I threw away things that reminded me of you. She flinched. "James is gone. Did you know that?" "I heard he took a job in California. San Diego. Left 3 days ago. Told me it was over. That being with me had cost him too much. I'm sorry you're hurt." Are you actually sorry?" "I'm sorry you're experiencing pain. I'm not sorry about the situation that caused it." "He's broken. Completely broken. That's not my problem." "It is your problem. You did this." "You were already failing. You were having an affair. I just made sure people noticed." She shook her head. "I came to apologize, but you don't want that." "No." "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that your choices matter, that you don't get to walk through life hurting people and pretending it doesn't count." "I know that now." "Do you, or are you just upset because you got caught?" She didn't answer. Tears streamed down her face. "You need to leave," I said. "Daniel, leave. Now." She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "I loved you once." "I know." "Did you ever love me?" "Yes." "When did that stop?" "When you texted me that you weren't my property. Because in that moment, I realized you'd never seen me as a person, just a role." She opened her mouth, closed it, nodded. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix anything." She left. I locked the door and stood in the silence. My phone buzzed. "Kevin. Drinks tonight?" "Yeah, I could." We met at a bar. Wings and beer. Normal conversation about football and work. When I got home, I opened my laptop and looked at the spreadsheets. All the data, all the planning. Then I deleted them. All of them. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because I didn't need them anymore. The work was done. Claire was alone. Patterson had fled. Diane was protecting her kids. And I was someone new. Someone harder. someone who understood that kindness and weakness aren't the same thing. I went to bed and slept 6 hours. 3 weeks passed. November became December. The rain turned colder. The city decorated for holidays. Work consumed my days. The promotion was official. Director of Operations. New office. I hired 2 coordinators and restructured the supply chain, reducing costs by 18%. Robert called it the best quarter in 5 years. Claire stopped contacting me. No texts, no calls. I didn't reach out either. On December 8th, Lisa Chen emailed. Claire resigned from Vantage yesterday, moving back east to family. Also, Patterson's San Diego job didn't work out. Let go after less than a month. Performance issues. Karma's real. Lisa. I read it twice. Archived it. Went back to work. That afternoon, Diane Patterson called. Daniel, it's Diane. Diane, how are you? Managing. The kids are adjusting. We're in therapy. It's hard, but we're getting through it. I'm glad to hear that. I wanted to thank you for being honest with me, for giving me the information I needed to protect my children. You deserved to know. We talked briefly. She told me about the separation, the kids, her plans. Before hanging up, she said, I hope you find peace with all of this, Daniel. You too. I sat at my desk for a long time, thinking. I'd set out to make sure Patterson and Claire understood that actions have consequences. Mission accomplished. But what were the consequences for me? I'd become someone I didn't entirely recognize. Someone calculating. Someone capable of orchestrating events without remorse. Was that better or worse than who I'd been before? On December 12th, Claire sent one final text. I'm leaving Seattle, moving to Boston to stay with my parents. I wanted you to know, I'm sorry. Really sorry for all of it. I know you don't forgive me, and I understand why. But I need you to know that I recognize what I did was wrong. I hurt you. I hurt Diane. I hurt everyone. And I'm going to have to live with that. I hope you find happiness, Daniel. You deserve it. Claire. I read it 3 times, then typed back. I hope you find peace. Send. That was the last communication I had with her. December continued. Work, running, routine. Kevin invited me to his family's Christmas party. I declined politely. Christmas came and went. I worked through most of it. New Year's Eve, I went to bed at 10. 2025 began quietly. On January 4th, at my gym, I ran into Lisa Chen. Daniel, hey. Lisa, hi. We made small talk. She was still at Vantage. Things had settled. Claire's gone, Patterson's gone, everyone's moved on. It's like it never happened. That's how it works usually. You seem good, healthy, trying to be. After she left, I thought about what she'd said. Had I handled it well? I'd destroyed 2 relationships, contributed to a man losing his career and family, but I'd also exposed the truth, held people accountable, refused to be a victim. The ethics were complicated, but I didn't regret it. On January 15th, I went on a date. Sarah, smart, funny, worked in supply chain logistics. We had dinner, talked about work, life, normal things. At the end, she asked if I wanted to get together again. I'd like that, I said. Life was moving forward. The past was settling into memory. I wasn't the same person I'd been a year ago. I'd changed fundamentally. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. Maybe sometimes you need to burn things down to rebuild. Maybe consequences aren't just punishment. Maybe they're teachers. February arrived cold and clear. The rain paused. The sky opened up. You could see Mount Rainier from downtown, sharp and white against the blue. I was running again. 6 miles most mornings. Sometimes 8. The rhythm helped me think. Work was good. The promotion had settled in. I was managing a team of 12 now, overseeing operations across 4 states. The challenges were bigger but satisfying. Sarah and I had been on 5 dates. She was easy to talk to, genuine, no games, no hidden agendas, just a normal person looking for connection. I appreciated that more than I would have a year ago. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, ironically, I received an unexpected message. It was from Claire. I know I said I wouldn't contact you again, but I need to tell you something. James passed away last week, car accident in San Diego. I thought you should know. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, I'm sorry to hear that. How are you doing? Not great. I know we weren't together anymore, but it's still... I don't know. It's hard. That makes sense? I keep thinking about everything that happened, about how different things could have been if we'd made different choices. You can't change the past. I know, But I can learn from it. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand why I did what I did, trying to be better. That's good. Are you happy, Daniel? I thought about the question. I'm content. That's close enough for now. I hope you find more than contentment someday. You deserve it. You too. We didn't message again after that. Later, I learned from Lisa Chen that the Patterson tragedy was ruled an accident. He'd been driving late at night, missed a turn, gone off the road, no other vehicles involved. Diana attended the farewell with her children. It was small and quiet. Life went on. Sarah asked me to be exclusive after our 8th date. I said yes. Kevin got promoted to senior logistics coordinator. I took him out for drinks to celebrate. My apartment stopped feeling empty, started feeling like home. Spring came. The rain returned, but lighter. Cherry blossoms bloomed around the city. I ran in the mornings and watched the world wake up. One Saturday in late March, I was at the park, not Green Lake, a different one, when I saw a family having a picnic. A man, a woman, 2 kids. They were laughing about something. The dad was chasing the kids around. The mom was setting up food on a blanket. Normal, happy, uncomplicated. I watched them for a minute. Then I kept running. I didn't know if I'd ever have that. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but I knew I was okay either way. Claire had asked if I was happy. The truth was more complicated than that. I wasn't the person I'd been before. That person was gone, burned away by the choices Claire and I had both made. I was someone new now, someone harder, more guarded, more aware of how fragile trust is and how easily people can destroy it, but also someone stronger, someone who wouldn't accept disrespect disguised as love, someone who understood that kindness didn't mean weakness. I'd learned that consequences aren't always punishment, sometimes they're just truth catching up. And I'd learned that revenge isn't about hurting people, it's about making sure they understand what they lost. Claire had lost me, Patterson had lost everything, and I'd lost the version of myself that believed good intentions mattered more than actions. We'd all paid prices, some higher than others. On April 3rd, exactly 7 months after Claire's original text, I was sitting on my couch after a run when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Daniel Carver? Yes. Who's this? This is Emma Patterson, James Patterson's daughter. My mom gave me your number. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I sat up straighter. Of course. Is everything all right? Yeah, I wanted to thank you. My mom told me what you did. How you told her the truth about my dad when no one else would. I know it was complicated and messy. But because of you, she was able to protect us. She was able to get us out of a bad situation before it got worse. I didn't know what to say. I'm glad she had the information she needed. I'm 16 now, old enough to understand what happened, what my dad did, and I'm old enough to know that you didn't have to tell my mom the truth. You could have just let her keep living in ignorance, but you didn't, so thank you. You're welcome. I hope you're doing okay. I am. I hope you are too. We're getting there. It's hard, but we're okay. After she hung up, I sat there for a long time. I'd spent months orchestrating consequences, making sure people understood the weight of their actions. But I'd never stopped to think about the people on the periphery, the kids, the innocent ones caught in the blast radius. Emma Patterson thanking me hadn't been on my radar, but maybe it should have been. Maybe consequences aren't just about punishment or accountability. Maybe they're also about protection, protecting yourself, protecting others, protecting the truth. That night, I had dinner with Sarah. We went to a sushi place downtown. She told me about a project she was working on, optimizing delivery routes for medical equipment in rural areas. I told her about the text from Emma. That must have been intense, she said. It was unexpected. But good unexpected? Yeah, I think so, she smiled. You're a good person, Daniel. I'm not sure about that. Well, I am. Later, walking her back to her car, she asked, Do you ever regret how things went down with your ex? No, not even a little? Not even a little. She made her choices. I made mine. I regret that it happened, but I don't regret how I responded. That's healthy, I think. Or sociopathic. Hard to tell sometimes. She laughed. You're not a sociopath. You're just someone who learned to protect himself. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd simply learned that protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. On May 1st, the divorce was finalized. I received the papers in the mail, signed them, mailed them back. It felt like closing a book I'd already finished reading. That night, I went for a run. 10 miles, longer than usual. Pushed myself until my legs burned and my lungs screamed. When I got home, I stood in my shower and let the hot water wash over me. Then I got dressed and made dinner, salmon, vegetables, rice. I ate at my table, alone, listening to a podcast about logistics innovations. And I felt okay. Not happy, not sad, just okay. That was enough. The next morning, Kevin knocked on my office door. "Boss, you got a second?" "Sure. What's up?" "I wanted to ask your advice on something." "Shoot." "My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years. I'm thinking about proposing, but I'm nervous. How do you know when someone's the right person?" I thought about the question carefully. "You know when they see you, really see you, not the version they want you to be, not the role they need you to play, just you, and they choose you anyway." He nodded slowly. "That makes sense. And if you're asking the question, you probably already know the answer." He grinned. Yeah, I think I do." After he left, I sat at my desk and looked out the window. The city stretched out below. Endless buildings and streets and people living their lives. Somewhere out there, Claire was rebuilding hers. Somewhere out there, Diane was raising her kids and finding her strength. Somewhere out there, Patterson's grave was settling into the earth. And here I was, still standing, still moving forward. I'd learned that love isn't enough if there's no respect. I'd learned that consequences aren't cruel if they're earned. I'd learned that you can survive losing someone you thought you couldn't live without. And I'd learned that becoming harder doesn't mean becoming worse. Sometimes it just means becoming stronger. On May 15th, Sarah told me she loved me. We were at her apartment, cooking dinner together. She said it casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I love you, you know?" I stopped chopping vegetables. "I love you too," she smiled. "Good, because I was worried I was jumping the gun." "You're not." We finished cooking and ate on her balcony, watching the sunset. Later that night, driving home, I thought about everything that had happened. A year ago, I'd been married to someone who didn't see me. Now I was with someone who did. A year ago, I'd been willing to accept disrespect because I thought that was love. Now, I knew better. The person I'd been back then wouldn't recognize the person I'd become. But that was okay. Growth isn't comfortable, change isn't easy, but both are necessary. On June 1st, I went for my morning run. 6 miles, the usual route. As I ran past the waterfront, watching the sun rise over the water, I thought about Claire's original text. "I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call." That text had changed everything. It had ended one life and started another, and I was grateful for it. Not because of what it destroyed, but because of what it revealed. It revealed that I was capable of more than I thought. It revealed that I could protect myself. It revealed that I didn't need someone who didn't value me. I finished my run and walked back to my apartment. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Good morning? Coffee later?" "Definitely." I showered, got dressed for work, made breakfast, and I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace, not happiness, not satisfaction, not victory, just peace. The story wasn't over. Life doesn't have clean endings, but this chapter was done, and the next one was mine to write.